I'm Allie, co-founder of PotomacBeads. Join me in working on your techniques, both peyote and right angle weave, as well as embellishing and a lot of connections working on this Gatsby necklace. Remember, you can make it all different lengths, all different styles, and check out some other YouTube videos that are listed in the links to help you get started. Remember, if you need any of those materials, check out the links below me, again in that description. Let's get started making this Gatsby component necklace to go along with our bracelet and our Art Deco earrings. So the Gatsby necklace really is a combination of a bunch of different components. I want you to begin by looking at the YouTube video for the Art Deco earrings. You can also look at the Gatsby bracelet to figure out how to do the right angle weave where you add and subtract and take away from the rows. You are doing the Art Deco earrings, which is going to be 6 long, going down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 rows of right angle weave. At the end of the Art Deco earrings, it has a wire guard and a tassel that hangs down at the bottom. You are going to keep it just as it is. Embellish it with 2mm beads going through that right angle weave. If you want to, you can watch this whole video through, then go back, watch the Art Deco earrings, or watch the Gatsby bracelet to get an idea of how to do that project. From there, we're using those earrings or those triangles as our components to hook on and add on to a 14mm Rivoli. The 14mm Rivoli, again, in the link below the video, we'll put the links to the other YouTube videos that you can check out for that. But in addition to the Art Deco earrings, you're gonna look for the Bezeled Rivoli. This is a 14mm Rivoli that has basically 3 rows of the Delica beads in the Duracoat galvanized champagne, and then 2 rows of 15 O's right on top of them in the sparkle taupe lined smoky AB. 2 go to the top, 2 go to the bottom as you go in and do that. When you're at the end of these 2 components, you need to figure out how to add them together. We're gonna add them in a simple X formation, adding one to the other. I'm going to link on to the 2 most cornered seed beads of that Art Deco or of that triangle. Coming out from your Rivoli, you can either tie it on and add new thread, or keep that thread on, and you want to make sure that you're coming out of the center row of your Delica beads. So remember, you have 1, 2, 3 if you draw a diagonal along those Delica beads, and you want to make sure that your thread is coming out that center or that number 2 bead. From there, you're going to get your 11O seed beads, which for the triangle, I use the 11O seed beads in the Duracoat galvanized champagne as well, just like the actual bracelet. And we're gonna add onto here, we are adding on 2 more of our 11O seed beads right to the edge. From here, I want you to go ahead and add in and sew through the middle 2 seed beads there at the end, after going in and adding a 15 2mm pearl 15 embellishment. I didn't want to take the time in this video to go through the whole section again, showing how to do this, since there is already videos on there that you can watch first and then get into making them after watching this video here and how to link them together. The beauty of this video is that it's a lot of different components that are linked together, and learning how to take the skills that you know and that you learn through other videos and add them together to make them into a more complicated piece. After those 2 11O seed beads, go ahead and grab 2 more 11s. You're going to skip over, then 1, and go into the 3rd. So you're looking at that same row of peyote in the center here. You're coming out of 1 bead, skipping the next bead in that same row, and then going into the 3rd bead in that row, and sewing into that 3rd bead towards the center of the project, back towards where the thread was coming out. Pulling that nice and tight then, that'll get that nice connection spot right along the portion of the Rivoli. From here then, after that connection spot, I'm going to go in and just reinforce this connection one more time, going back through the peyote stitch. And anytime you are attaching anything to peyote or right angle weave, you always want to make sure that you do not see any additional thread showing through your stitches. So whether or not you're going back through here and stitching right along the edge, getting ready then to come back through the piece and connect and reinforce, or going into the right angle weave and doing the embellishment on top. You never want to see additional threads, so you're making sure that you're always back stitching or doing the back threading, that you're going through the same way that your stitch was. You're never hopping from one row of right angle weave along the outer side to the other, because then you're going to see the thread. Once you have this attached and reinforced, then I want you to go up through that whole Rivoli if you have the needle still attached, and you're going to go right along those thread lines like I just mentioned and said, and you're going to go right up till you get to the opposite side of the Rivoli. So when you're looking at the opposite side of the Rivoli, you want to make sure that that center bead that sits right in the middle there that we did not go through sits right across that bead there. Again, our count was 36. We're coming right up to that center bead there of the Delica, and we're going to add our pearls onto the back of our necklace. When you get back to the top of your piece here, you're going to add in approximately 5 inches of pearls. I'm adding in 4mm shiny bright white pearls, about 5 inches of those. Once you have them onto the thread and needle, you're going to go up through a wire guard and then back down through your pearls so that they're coming out your thread right there after the pearls. From there, you're going to go ahead and take the thread and needle back through the opposite side of that Delica bead and pull tight. What this is going to do is take that thread, and you can see it sitting in a little Y there, right on top of that Delica bead, so it almost looks like the pearl strand is sitting right on top of the Delica bead that your thread is coming out of. So when I come back down with my pearls, I'm going to be sewing into the left side there of the Delica since my thread is currently coming out the right side. Once I have those pearls on in that 5-inch section, we're going to go in now and I'm going to show you how we are going to put our graduation of our chain and our beads and our right angle weave along the front of this Gatsby necklace. Once you have both sides with the actual pearls on, you're going to have a lot of connection thread, so don't worry about that because you have places where you tied off the thread from the Rivoli, you have places where you tied off from your Art Deco necklace, but you're going to end up with 2 complete separate ends with the pearls matching in length on both sides. Now it becomes a really fun game of attaching your middle strands to it. The middle strands can change completely. I'm starting off with 5 inches of cup chain. Then my next one is going to be 2mm of pearl. That I'm doing 6 inches, 7 inches of cup chain, 8 inches of raw with crystals, and then 4 millimeter pearls for 9 inches. So keep in mind this middle chain section can change completely. I'm going to show you how I go to adding these components and adding in the cup chain and linking it in. I've already done one side so you can see how it's done via the right angle weave that you've already completed and worked with and know and love. So what I'm going to show you now is how to connect on the other side. I have a new piece of thread and I'm going to attach to my Art Deco piece. Coming back a little bit further on the piece, you can go in at the top, you can go in here at the bottom, but you're going to need to make sure not to have any of that thread exposed. And we want to come out the very end of that Art Deco on our last little right angle weave section. You can let this thread hang out here because we can tie off to that thread as we finish off adding our chain. Again, the cup chain is going to be added with another round of right angle weave going out here, and I want to make sure that I'm exiting out my 2 beads at the very end of that row. When I flip over on the other side here, you can see there's basically 3 beads at the top, 2 there at the bottom or on the side, and then 3 kind of to the bottom. We're coming out the exact same place here, so I want to make sure that I'm coming out the top here. I have those to the top 3 here. Go ahead and add in 3 more beads that are going to be one side of your right angle weave, then 2 beads for the bottom, 3 more beads for the side, and sew back through the 2 seed beads that your thread just came out of. That's going to bring around that right angle unit. Sew down through the first 3 beads, which are one side of the right angle. Sew through the 2 beads like it would be getting ready to make another section of right angle. Come out through those 2 beads, add on 2 more beads, grab this section of your right angle weave. making sure that it sits between the two beads. So basically what we're doing is we're locking it in place. So the two beads that we just added are going to go underneath the cup chain, right there, kind of making room for it. Once you have that cup chain in there, take your thread and needle and go back through those two beads as well. So you're circling those two beads so they sit on top of the cup chain, then go back through those two beads to make a little loop. So you can see my cup chain's not sitting in there yet. Kind of making that little loop there. Make sure your cup chain is facing correct. Slide that cup chain between those two beads and pull the thread to lock it in. Those two beads then will kind of sit to the top of that cup chain. Go back in now and do one more rotation of the right angle weave. When you give a nice tight pull, make sure that those two beads sit between those last two rows of the right angle weave. Again, kind of tightening up that last little loop here. Make sure to do a nice tight pull. This time around, instead of grabbing the two to the back that we added first, hop right up to the two to the top. Then go down the three to the side. And now the cup chain is linked in there, not going anywhere. So I've done this now at the top, so I have my top cup chain linked in, ready to go on both sides. My next section, because I already have the thread and needle here, I'm going to sew down along my right angle weave. So I'm sewing along my triangle so that my thread and needle are going to come out through my next two beads there, right basically on the end of that cup chain purl, and get ready to add just a simple strand of my 2mm pearls. Flip your project over if you want to, in order to sew along that right angle weave to be able to see the design and where to come out. So again, I'm going back through that right angle weave, linking on so you don't see any thread. If you want to, you can also tie off that thread end with your thread or burning glue. Coming out then around that last right angle weave. And this really, like I've been saying, is a full game of how to do these different connections. And that's what you'll come out of this project really learning. So I'm gonna go again out through those two beads here, coming right out through those two corner beads. And I'm gonna literally take my 2mm pearls and string 6 inches of 2mm pearls on my thread and needle, and then connect between those two beads on the other side of the clasp. When you get to the other side of the pearls after having strung them all, you're gonna go back in between those same two seed beads where that pearl is going over, and I'm gonna circle around that right angle weave, making sure that I'm not exposing the thread anywhere. When I come back through those two beads, I'm going to exit out through the middle of those two, take my thread and needle, back down then the entire row of the pearls, reinforcing them. So I'm going to take this thread and needle now, coming out between those two seed beads, back through the entire row of pearls to the other side, and get ready then to add my next section of my cup chain in the exact same fashion to get in my third strand of beads. Once you go in and finish up adding your second length of cup chain, and remember I'm doing an inch difference between these, so I have 5, 6, 7, and now I'm to my 8 inch. What I've done is I've done one row of my right angle weave. You can either do it completely independently, or you can continue from the project if you already have thread there. If you already have thread there, what you're gonna do is come out from the last right angle unit, again, right after that connection point of those two beads. Go ahead and continue with 2 beads in each of your sides for your right angle weave. So you're gonna add 6 total. Go back up through the 2 that your thread is coming out of, circling around and making that first right angle weave connection, just like we did for the cup chain, and just like you've done for the Art Deco, still using always that champagne color. Go back through the first 2 beads that you put on, as well as the second 2 beads. Add 6 more beads on, 2 for the bottom, 2 for the right side, 2 for the top. Go back down what is now the left side, circling around. Go through the bottom 2. Go through the right 2, which are now going to be the left 2 for my next unit as I pick up 6 more of my beads. When I pick up 6 more, again, I'm just going to continue on adding in the right angle weave units. Now what I'm going to do is, again, that 8 inches of my raw stitch. Once I'm done with the 8 inches of the raw, I'm going to make sure that the last section gets connected to that starting side. After doing so, we're going to embellish much like we did the 2mm pearls, except we're going to embellish going big with some 4mm round crystals. They're really going to take the focus and expand the look, making it a little bit chunkier as we add this row of right angle weave to our already established Art Deco ends. When you establish your right angle weave coming down, in order to attach to this Art Deco side, you're going to get ready to add your last unit, which is going to connect to the Art Deco triangle. You're going to be coming out your last 2 beads, add on 2, go back to this Art Deco side, going through the 2 beads on either side of that 2mm embellished pearl. Come out right after those 2 seed beads, add in 2 more 11/0 seed beads. Make sure nowhere in your right angled chain there is it twisted, and go back through the 2 beads that you started with. That's going to pull that nice and tight and get that right angle weave connection to continue with that look. Now what we're going to do is go back through one more time that connection section, coming out after those 2 beads of the Art Deco. Once we're out the 2 beads of the Art Deco, it is time to add in our bling bling crystals. So again, I'm using the Czech coated crystal AB crystals, and they're a little bit hard to see since I'm on white here. But what you're going to do is pick up one of these crystals, put it on your thread and needle, hop to the opposite side of that right angle weave unit. So I'm coming out the bottom right of that unit. I'm going to go into the top left, which is going to bring me out at the bottom, which is going to become the bottom right again. Add another crystal onto the thread and go back into the left side now, going in from the top towards the bottom. So just as we did the Art Deco and embellished, I'm going to go the whole way down this strand now, which will add a lot of weight to this necklace, adding in and going across the right angle weave. And as you go in, you just want to make sure that you're pulling tight so you don't see a lot of extra thread. The crystals will sit right in there nice and big. When you finish all your different strand connections, which you end up with a potential of 6, again, you can really change up what you're doing. I ended up with 5 inches of cup chain, 6 inches of the 2mm pearl, 7 more inches of cup chain, 8 inches of my right angle weave with my 4mm beads. Then I have 9 inches of 4mm pearls, and then my last is 10 inches of my cup chain. You can see all the connections fit really, really well here, nice and at the top. And as the strands relax and everything, I'm going to go ahead and cut off the extra thread, burn down the thread ends, and then also a great idea for the end of the necklace is to stick on a jump ring along with an extender chain. That way you can wear it at all different lengths. Once you're done cutting off all your lengths, you can wear your Gatsby necklace at all different angles here. Have fun, go out on the town, make a pair of earrings to go along if you want to do the Gatsby bracelet as well. You can make that whole set with the Art Deco earrings, the Gatsby bracelet, and the necklace. Really focusing on learning and expanding your beading techniques as well as your beading knowledge as you add these components together. Remember, I'll put links in the video below me in the descriptions to link to some of those other videos that may be needed to watch in order to finish this Gatsby necklace. Also, if you need any of the materials, we are more than happy to send them to you from PotomacBeads.com as well as PotomacBeads.eu. Remember, you can always give a little like, a comment, and share this video, which helps out the beading community and expands the knowledge of the beading world. As always with these YouTube videos, you can subscribe to get regular updates from us here at Potomac Beads. As always, thank you so much for watching, and enjoy this techniques and learning that are involved in working with the Gatsby necklace.